The topic of the week with the kids on the underground forum was super heavyweight, talking about the weight class. Should a super heavyweight class be added? And we've heard the talk of weights being added. You guys remember the 165 pound, and not only did this weight want to be added, but then you had a whole bunch of people going, Kevin Lee, Ben Askren, just by example, going, I'll go that weight class. I would love that weight class. In fact, here, we'll help you fill it up right now. But you remember some of this talk. And then for women right now, it's 105 pounds. And the 105 pounds, in many ways, is the same problem with the super heavyweight. Super heavyweight would be anything over 265. Used to be known as unlimited. But the heavyweight class itself used to be known as unlimited. It wasn't until they changed the name to heavyweight class did they actually put a cap on the class, and that number's changed. That went from 285 to 275 to 265. It kept getting smaller. And so many people were hoping that the bottom would come up. Raise the bottom up to keep that 285, 270, keep that higher, because the number one thing you don't want to do is to eliminate somebody from opportunity. Could you imagine being a really big guy, by example, but now being a really big guy also eliminates you from participation? I mean, that would be a very cold and hard thing. You're just a big guy. What are you going to do? You're 6'10", by example. You're 320 pounds, by example. Like, life and comfortability within life isn't going to be as easy as different sizes that you could have been dealt. And now you're also excluded from certain sports. It's one of these things that was perceived as very cold at the time that it happened, but now has been well invited, and this is what it should be. And this is a healthy amount of weight. I don't know if I agree with that. I've never understood why heavyweight would have a cap. And the other side of the argument was you had guys that were eating themselves to success. You would have guys that were anything but athletic, that were winning world and Olympic medals or NCAA titles, specifically to the sports that have weight classes like wrestling, by example. There was a guy named Chris Anderson, did very good in wrestling, and he couldn't wrestle very well. But he was an Olympic silver medalist. He was 400 and some pounds. You just simply couldn't move him around. It was one of these deals. And as a way of stopping somebody from eating themselves into success, which sounds like none of your business in the first place, they started to put caps, and they thought there was too big of a gap. And in all fairness, that's what heavyweight is. Right? I mean, that's what heavyweight is. If you're a big guy, you go with other guys who are also big guys, and off you go. You don't look into that a whole lot more. Well, you're a big guy and you're a big guy, but you're a really big guy, and all of a sudden this isn't fair. That's kind of just what heavyweight was. And it used to be called unlimited. So I think when the kids on the underground are arguing that unlimited should be brought back, who specifically are you talking about doing that for? If anybody specifically. Can you fill a bracket? I mean, it's one of the reasons that it's not going to happen. It's one of the reasons that these topics only exist on the internet, is because nobody has the follow-up answer, which is who's going to do it. Who exactly is being excluded that you're talking about here that has some kind of a skill set that should be able to showcase that skill set? But the idea of dropping heavyweight down, I think, is also worth talking about. I don't think that ever should have happened. 285 is what it used to be. Dropped to 75, went down to 265, and that's across the board. The Olympic Games now also recognizes 265 as the top. They wanted to change that as far back as the year 2000. But the greatest star in all of wrestling was a Russian athlete named Karelin. And the weight class was 286. Actually, not 280, but 286. And they wanted to drop it to 265, but they knew dropping the class would eliminate Karelin. Karelin had no body fat. He was just all mass and muscle, juiced out of his mind. But he was 286, and he had to cut to make that. So the sport did not want to change itself now and eliminate Karelin, the biggest star in the sport. So they waited until the next quadrennium, 2004, to drop the weight class, but they still dropped to 21 pounds. Why drop it at all? Why would you drop heavyweight? Specifically what heavyweight is. And who sits around and decides we're going to go from 286, which is a weird number, to 275 to 265? This is strange. Why would we eliminate participation? And at the same time as you don't want to eliminate participation, when the kids on the underground are talking about adding a 105 pound or adding a superweight class, who is it that's going to participate?